This is the Stop Playing podcast with Sham and Shaka. I'm Sham.
I'm Shaka. What's going on, Sham?
Hey, what's up, Shaka?
Man, I mean, it's the best day of the year.
Why don't you tell our listeners why?
It is my birthday today. We did a birthday episode. We didn't plan it.
No.
We didn't plan it.
I'm actually very shocked that you wanted to do this today.
But then think about it a little farther. Like, dig a little bit deeper in that ground. And you will know. I love doing this podcast. I love kirking out about my birthday. I mean, it fits. Matter of fact, it's overdue.
I mean, sure. I just figured you'd be like self-party teening and getting drunk or something.
I mean, who's to say I'm not doing that? But anyway, no, I'm joking. Look, listen, we're in the COVID, COVID age 2020. Can't go out and have a big party like you've been a part of. So, hey, I do the thing I love to do, which is this podcast, hanging out with you, which is awesome. And I'm 39 today.
Whoa!
You know what, Sham? It was very sweet. The listeners can't see it, but you gave me a thumbs up sign. That was great. Yeah. Listeners, honestly, if you see Sham do that, you'd be like, she's a troll. No, but I
totally was trolling too. Accurate.
Yeah. It's been a spectacular day. Both my parents hit me up. I'm blessed to still have both my parents. And, I know a lot of people, have lost parents. You lost your mom. And it's one of those things like them, my friends, family, everyone. I mean, I had a couple of exes hit me up. Like it's been a great day. It's really been a good day.
You get your hair cut too?
I cut my own hair.
What?
I've said this on the podcast before.
I know.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Honestly, even after the pandemic breaks, I think I'm gonna go that route from now on.
I mean, you found a way to save yourself a few dollars.
Yeah. You know what? Say it, more than a few.
It's being nice.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me how much a man's haircut could cost.
Fellas, at the next meeting, the barbers are holding us hostage. Like, it's like I broke out of the camp and I'm trying to educate everyone. Like, hey, you know what? We could do this. Now, all the barbers that listen to the podcast, I'm sorry, but y'all holding us hostage. By the way, Sham, before you can tell people where they can find us, I do want to give us a little shout out to the Jumping Out There podcast. And, Sham, they're almost a mirror reflection of us in terms of the time that they started and when they started and the dynamic between them and all of that. And I've listened to a few of their podcasts, man. It's so great to hear people from DC cooking out here. And, man, Jay and all them, they cook out here.
And shout out to Jay and wife because they Hampton alum. Okay, Hampton alum.
Yeah, man. Yo, let me tell you something. When I hear, especially Jay talking, it's like, man, that is DC. Like, they are DC to the core, man. I love it. Man. It's in my bones. But yeah, I really like them. Again, when we collab, I feel like it's gonna be fireworks. Good fireworks, though. Good fireworks. And good dynamic there, and good shout out to them. And thanks for all the love. And these are the type of relationships that I love that we have a podcast to form.
Interestingly, he said in that episode he didn't really know if we knew or if you reached out to them because of the Hampton connection. And it was a coincidence. It was a total coincidence.
Definite.
We did not know that he went there or his wife went there. So that was really dope. But, it's a small world and Hampton is a small community. But for a school that has, only about 5,000 students,
Mm-hmm.
It's like I can go anywhere and find somebody that went to Hampton. It's crazy.
I mean, the what by the sea?
Our home by the sea. However, my new Hampton motto is homeless by the sea, because both of my dorms got torn down. So
yikes. I'll let you suss that story out.
Actually, the other day I ran into somebody at Taco Bell and dude was like, "Hey, home by the sea, eh?" And I looked at him like, "What?" He looked at my license plate I have on the back, alumni Hampton University. And I said to him, I said more like homeless by the sea.
Shem, what do you think School Days was based off of? I feel like Hampton too.
I think School Days was based off of like
maybe Morehouse.
One of the southern schools, definitely like somewhere in Atlanta or maybe even like Tuskegee. But definitely not a
actually, I'm gonna tell you this: Fisk will be a good Morehouse, or it would be a good School Day school.
We should look that up. They probably have a school in mind.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we don't already know this.
Right.
Interestingly, I'm glad you brought that up because I was in a HBCU alumni group on Facebook. And they were saying, what's your school motto? And of course, all the Hampton people said home by the sea. And some people said the Yard, some, Howard, the Mecca. And they were just running through. And this lady from Spelman was like, I don't know, that school that had that popular show on TV. I said, nice try. Hillman was 1 hour from Richmond in Virginia and 2 hours from DC. That's clearly Hampton. And then another
that popular show.
Yeah, she was trying to say a different world without saying it. But
right.
And that's fine. But filming for that show was done in Atlanta at several universities. It was done at like Clark Atlanta, Spelman. It was a bunch of universities. And another lady was like, she started an argument with me about it. And I said, while that's true, it wasn't taped at Hampton, but the idea of the college was based on Hampton, the location and all that stuff. And it actually was said by a couple people from the show that it was in fact based on Hampton. And I had to explain to her that, sometimes where things are filmed is irrespective of what they intended to show you. For example, there are a lot of shows that are filmed in films that are filmed in like Toronto, but the backdrop of the film or the movie or TV show is like LA or New York. They just film it in Toronto because it's cheaper.
Yep.
So
it was especially on the East Coast, Toronto is a very popular. Yeah, no, that's an excellent point.
So she was in her feelings about it, but I was like, all right, fine. Spelman's a fine school. That's cool. Well, they all fine schools.
They're all fine schools. Yeah.
But So before we get into our news stories today, let me remind everybody where to find us. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or your preferred podcast app. If you want the rundown for everywhere you can find us, you can log into www.stopplayingpodcast.com. We lay it all out there for you. You want to leave a comment or give us suggestions about what you want to hear on the show, you can do that as well.
So Sam, what kind of week has it been? How's it been for you?
I'm still debating what the weather should be like. So maybe you.
Well, I'll tell you this: the weather's been cold. And again, we don't live 1,000 miles apart, so I'm assuming it's been relatively cold here as well. But look. Anytime around my birthday, I always buckle up because that's when it gets blustery. The only thing is it hasn't snowed, but everything else, it's been like windy. It's been extremely windy like the last 2 days. But it's been windy. It's been cold. It's been autumn. That being said, fresh air is nice. It's fine. And, I've been good. Other than that, as far as locally, there have been a couple marches here, as we've talked about, even in the last episode. But otherwise, it's been relatively tame, relatively quiet. All right, so, Sam, we have a vaccine, Fda approval. So we had talked about the vaccine last week.
we had a good time with that.
Yeah, we did. And it's still a good time, honestly. So we have Pfizer and Moderna. So we only talked about Pfizer last week. Now we have Moderna as well. And both of them are like, look, we got 95%, like, accuracy, whatever you want to call it. For the vaccine, we're good. Did the placebo groups, they put out the statistics, everything's cool. So they're now fast tracking the FDA approval. The FDA approval will be on December, I want to say December the 11th. And I was watching Meet the Press. So today is Monday the 23rd, my birthday, Monday the 23rd. I watched Meet the Press yesterday, the 22nd, and I don't know his name, Sam, or I have not been comfortable in saying his name correctly, but the doctor in charge of this, he's Middle Eastern, I want to say it's Flowey or something like that. He was on both Meet the Press and State of the Union, and he said, look, here's what's going to happen. We're going to have the FDA approval on the 11th, and within 24 hours of that, we're going to ship out the vaccine, and it's going to be hopefully 20 million people vaccinated before the end of December. And after that, he says 70%, hopefully, of the population should be vaccinated by May, and that will give us, quote unquote, the actual scientific herd immunity. He was like, we can't dictate to the states what they're going to actually do, but we can tell the CDC what to tell the states to do. And if they go by the plan, we can have everyone vaccinated by May, by the end of May, put it like that. And he was talking, and he wasn't dodging questions. He was answering the questions like accurately. So hopefully if we follow this man's plan, we can do what we need to do. That being said, the states are run by governors, and half of the governors in this country are ignorant. So there's that.
The funny thing to me about the announcements of the vaccines was that, okay, so we talked about Pfizer coming out like after the election. Okay, they're trolls. They win that. And they came out and they were like, all right, our vaccine is 90% effective. Boom. 2 days later, Uncle Tony comes out and says, yeah, I support Moderna. Yeah. I really like this vaccine. So Moderna says, our vaccine is 94.5% effective. Okay, cool. Then Pfizer circles back and was like, actually, ours is 95%.
I do like the vaccination war.
Vaccination wars. And so then there's a third vaccine, a British-Swedish company called AstraZeneca. Yeah. They claim to be 90% effective, but really they're closer to 70% on average. The one thing that I like about this, and there's a little more transparency that I think folks would appreciate, but let's be fair. Pfizer is probably only going to be able to go out to people who really, really need it or have the money to get it. Moderna is being said to be more accessible to people who are like us, don't have a lot of money. Yeah. And not sure how accessible AstraZeneca is going to be, but it seems like it's going to go just like the socioeconomic system goes.
No, I mean, Shem, I'm glad you said that, though. Let's talk about this real quick. So that's why I went through kind of the tedium of how the guy was saying it will be laid out. Because that is the question, right? How do you get the vaccine out? Now, I was talking about just on a basic pragmatic level, like how it's going to be distributed by the states. But then once you get beyond that, what's the order? What's the priority? Right? So what's your thoughts on that?
It's going to be socioeconomically from the top to the bottom. I can tell you that right now. The richer you are, the easier it's going to be for you to get it. Right.
And you and I both are old enough to know what kind of world we live in. Mm-hmm. That's what's going to happen. But that's not what should happen. Absolutely. What should happen is, okay, first things first, give it to the people in the hospitals, the healthcare workers, because they got to be around people all day and deal with people. Then after that, in my opinion, give it to the people who have not been able to social distance for work and have to deal with the general public. And then go from there. Because, your first instinct is like, well, give it to people who are sick. The vaccine doesn't do anything for people who are sick.
No, they've already got it.
They already got it. They've been vaccinated involuntarily.
Right.
Hopefully they survive. And I know how that sounds, but that's reality.
Yeah, it's definitely the reality.
So then after that, it's like, okay, you can't give it to people who are sick. Or you can, but the point is you can't prioritize them over people who haven't gotten it yet. You have to give it to frontline workers, people who have to deal with people. And then you can start thinking about how it's distributed after that.
I believe they said that was going to be one of the phases of the Moderna vaccine, that they were going to push that out to, just like you said, people who work in healthcare and like first responders and such. But we'll see. I mean, it's the whole back and forth about, oh, I'm 90. No, I'm 94.5. No, I'm 95. That part was
it's hilarious.
It's hilarious to me.
It's one of those things like, I mean, this is a life-threatening global crisis, and we still out here quibbling about percentages because y'all want money.
Snap, Monday Night Lights.
Yeah. Hey, what's going on around here? That was a little louder than normal. I see the lights and all that. It's like they pull it up. Listen, in all seriousness, no, it's good to hear about a vaccine, period.
I'm still waiting on this antibiotic. I guess we'll get that in a couple of years.
Yeah, it'll be a couple of years. But hearing about a vaccine tells me, and look, even the guy was on Meet the Press earlier. He was like, look, we've been doing this. We've been working all year. We've been working at it. And I did, like he said, there have been no politics involved. So I'll give 45's administration credit. They didn't interfere with this. They wanted to take credit for it at the end, but they didn't interfere in the process. And he was like, we just studied it. And this is an accomplishment to have a vaccine this quickly. As much as you and I and everyone else has been bellyaching about it, because when you're in the middle of the crisis, you want the vaccine tomorrow, but it doesn't work like that. But to have it in 10 months, essentially, maybe 12 if you want to get technical, that's an accomplishment, and it's great. So hopefully, Sham, by next year, because of this, life will be back to quote unquote normal.
Funny word, that normal.
Yeah. What is normal anymore?
And because of, it's great news that we have 3 vaccines now that people will eventually be able to inject. There's definitely been another aspect of the COVID pandemic that has shifted back around, and that's the lockdowns.
Yeah, and we alluded to it last week. By the way, Sham, I'm gonna just say this right now. Governor Hogan must want to. He's gonna run for president.
Oh yeah, if he's on Meet the Press every week,
I see him all over the place. Not just Meet the Press. He was on Meet the Press State of the Union yesterday. But he's been all over the place all the time. He's been out there so much that people refer to his comments. Other politicians like, yeah, I heard Larry Hogan said this, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, and that guy's going to be the Republican nominee. And Jake Tapper asked him, he was like, what do you think about Trump running in 2024? And he kind of was like, I'm not worried about that. He didn't say that, but he was like, look, a lot can happen between now and then. Like, let's get past this. Look, Sham, lockdowns, because they're necessary. Like every week we've been talking about the ramping up. Before we tape today, 170,000 cases, and we're averaging that over the last 3 or 4 days at minimum. 170. When I said it in the last episode or a couple episodes ago, I was horrified at the prospect. But I mean, we're going to get to 250,000 a day. That's what's going to happen. And that is what it is. Now, because of this, in the face of these numbers, a lot of states are finally coming around, and a lot of governors are finally coming around like, you know what? Maybe this is a problem. Like
not in South Dakota though.
8 months into the pandemic, maybe this is a problem. But you know who's not? Right. We in the height of the pandemic, we're talking about, I don't know, Governor DeSantis, Governor Kemp, idiots, all of them. You know who's trying to run for that crown? The governor of South Dakota. Like, she is going for the cup. Governor Kristi Noem, who, Sham, I'm going to put it right here, right now on the podcast so I can be transparent because I always am. It's very attractive. But she's an idiot. She's an absolute idiot.
She is pretty.
She's very pretty. I mentioned her a couple episodes ago, and I was like, the governor of South Dakota who's completely ignorant, because I didn't know her name. But now I know her name. Kristi Noem. Kristi Noem is what's wrong with not only America, but the global response to the pandemic. In the face of everything, doesn't even want to have masks. She is still debating about masks. At this very moment, I want people to be able to make their own decisions. So, okay, if somebody makes a decision, if there are 4 people in the car and the driver makes a decision to drive us off the cliff, we want everyone to be able to make their own decisions? Like, I mean, what is this woman talking about? I even put she's a mention. She's not worthy of a story. She's trash. She's a trash governor. Trash. And the 10 people in South Dakota that were going behind her, they show everything she was doing. And I do remember seeing her this summer during the 4th of July. She had a big, fair or whatever, where everybody, no one wore masks. She showed up in, little 4th of July, outfit and riding a horse and doing all that. It's stupid. And that's what's wrong with the country right now. So I'll get off my soapbox.
Circling back to Governor Hogan. So over the weekend, he had gotten into a Twitter tussle with 45.
Really?
Over the
I didn't know that.
The 500,000 coronavirus tests he got from South Korea earlier this year.
That wife he hooked up.
Yeah, the ones that secretly arrived at BWI. So what they're saying is that Hogan purchased the test without getting an emergency use authorization from the FDA. But a lot of local legislators, are not happy about it because many of the tests they've been told that a lot of the tests have been bringing about false positives. Oh. And Prince George's County Senator Paul Pinsky says that he feels like Marylanders have been deceived as well as the nation because the tests that they bought weren't complete tests. Many of the tests were used in nursing homes. Mm-hmm. And that's where a lot of the false positives had happened, specifically in Frederick. Wow. In a Frederick lab, it was reported. So also that lab was told abruptly to stop using those tests. And that those original tests had been returned to the company and traded for a better product. Like they were being swapped out, like you swap in your iPhone for a faster, better one. Mm-hmm. So here's the numbers for this whole testing debacle. And this is why Marylanders are now coming for Governor Hogan. $9.4 million for the original tests, including the shipping. $2.5 million to ramp up University of Maryland lab to process the tests. And then another $2.5 million for the trade or the upgrade, as he likes to call it. So this is why people are up in arms. I'm a mailander, as you know.
Right.
I'm not up in arms about this because in my head, I'm like, at least he did something and tried. Because no one had an idea where they're going to get these tests from or what these tests were going to do or anything like that. The pandemic way back in March and April just hit so fast and hard that if not for President 45, we might have had a better result.
Mm-hmm.
And if 45 wasn't being stingy with the testing that he had available, maybe Larry Hogan wouldn't have had to do some secret deal and have his wife negotiate with South Korean government to get those tests. My thing is, you're mad because he got the tests and the money he used to get them. And yes, there are going to be some false positives. That's been a thing across the board. I feel sorry for people who thought they had and they didn't. And I damn sure feel sorry for people who thought they didn't have it and had and ultimately passed. But at least the man did something, which is more than I can say for the other 49 governors in the United States.
I agree. Yeah, like, that's what you could say about Larry Hogan, like, for most of this time. So honestly, it's like he's looking out. He's done a good job of looking out for his constituents and also, like, kind of giving an example of what you should do for the general public. Like, both. I need these tests. I need this. So, yeah. And he's going to run for president.
Oh, he's absolutely going to run for president. Yeah. And you know what? I hope it's Andrew Cuomo and him running for president against each other. It would be awesome.
I don't think Cuomo will run.
I know he won't, but I need it.
He's going to be like his father.
I need it.
His father was a staple in the party and was just like, I'm not going to run. Period.
Oh, we need this.
No, Sham. You don't want Cuomo to run. That means Biden's presidency is not going to be successful.
No.
If you're talking, I'm talking about Hogan's going to run in 2024. He's going to run against Biden.
Joe Biden's going to be 180 years old by then.
I mean, Kamala Harris hopefully will take over. I mean, whatever. But in Sham, that sounds a little ageist. But okay, Biden's old. Yes,
man, 78. You gonna run again at 82?
I mean, hey, if he feels it, he feels it.
Sheesh.
Actually, isn't he 74? Won't he be 78 then?
No,
I don't know.
Trump is 74.
Okay. I know Biden was 4 years older than Trump. But look, Kamala Harris, if she runs in 2024, okay. I mean, that's kind of what I see happening, but we're not there yet.
I mean, that's nice. I just want the drama of the battle of the governors.
Hey, look, we're not even at the inauguration of this one yet, which I'll get to in a second. So, but listen, all jokes aside, lockdowns are reinstated because the crisis is bad. Again, 170,000 plus a day. And Larry Hogan is amongst probably the more stringent governors. And like, look, I'm seeing cases tick up. We're shutting stuff down, period. So.
Oh, I want to clarify something from the last episode before I move on. When I was talking about how they were going to take a more specific approach to finding the source of these COVID issues, we talked about them doing it by county, but specifically what I meant to say was they were doing it by zip code.
Oh, so wow.
That's the proposal that they have to do it by zip code. And I couldn't find the words when I was talking about it last week. So I just want to clarify that. So it's a zip code based analytics.
I'm glad you clarified that because now I'll double down on my answer. That is a very analytical approach. And I'm happy for that. Yeah. All right. So look, we're transitioning. Politically, Sham 45 is still in the basement, like tweeting, like I won this election
in between 18 holes.
Correct.
Probably none.
Yeah. The only time he comes out is to go to the golf course in Sterling, which for all you people not in DC, Sterling is about a good at least 45 minutes.
Yeah, Sterling is not.
Yeah.
It's DMV, but it's a ride. It's a hump.
Yeah. Nah, that's a hump. Yeah. If you're the president, you can get out there in 45 minutes, which tells you all you need to know about how far Sterling is. Yeah. But other than that, he is not at all conceding this election. Now, here's the thing. I want to make myself clear, and I want the podcast family to understand something. 45 not conceding this election seems like a clown show, and it seems like, oh, okay, this is kind of harmless. He's pursuing this in court, and he knows what he's doing. He's actually acting like he is or was when he was a businessman and he had bankruptcy. Where it's one of those things like, I know on the surface it looks like I lost, but I can kind of maneuver through the courts here and string this thing along and make it advantageous to myself.
And
Sham?
That's why they have bankruptcy lawyers, and that's why they have litigators, and that's why they have different types of lawyers. Because this ain't bankruptcy court, and that ain't how it works.
And you're right. Now, I'm glad you said that, though, because you know how law works. I was just about to say, the unfortunate thing, though, elections, and even today, Michigan certified their election. So the political process will keep going. The governmental process and civic process will keep going. However, it is still noteworthy the way our legal system works. You can make a challenge in the court forever. People are like, oh, well, 45 had 40 court challenges and 30 something have been thrown out. It is very rare that even with prejudice, that a judge will be like, I'm throwing this out and I never want to see you in here again. They can say that, but he can take all kinds of angles to come back in this, which is why I watched every single thing he did this week. The Georgia recount has just happened. Georgia has been called for President Biden. I shouldn't say the Georgia recount. The Georgia runoff for the Senate is still going on. That hasn't happened yet. Loeffler should be in jail. We've already talked about that. But his legal strategy is simply to basically flood the courts with cases. Now,
which isn't even a strategy.
Well, you know.
It's a waste of time because they just keep throwing them out.
They keep throwing them out, but he can still flood them. Now.
To no end, though. There's no, I guess he can flood them. He's just wasting his own time and anybody else that's around him because they have to have merit and none of them do.
His other strategy is to have the state legislatures overturn the actual vote count and just turn over their electors to him for the electoral college, which is on December the 14th. Now,
also no merit.
Sham, you want to know something funny? And then we will wrap up the political segment. I watched the entire Rudy Giuliani press conference. I watched the entire thing. Now, everyone, the big headline was the hair dye, which you heard about that, right?
Mm-mm.
Rudy Giuliani, so I'm glad to tell you this. Rudy Giuliani came out there, the Republican National Committee headquarters, and had a press conference. So this is why this is also a problem. Because we talked about Rudy Giuliani being a hack lawyer, and as we just talked about, 45's legal strategy being hacked. But it's one thing when you're just out on an island. It's another thing when the Republican National Committee headquarters, hosts your legal strategy to not concede the election at their headquarters. He comes out there and he has a bunch of people behind him and he talks about what he's going to do to contest this election. He talks for about 10 minutes, then he gives the podium up to some other people behind him, which I get to. And then he comes back and takes questions. Sham, the second he takes questions, his hair dye starts running along both sides of his face. He was sweating like a hog in there in general, but it's sweating to the point it's numb. Like you could see it running down both sides of his face. It almost looked like somebody took a Sharpie and was drawing down both sides of his face with a black marker. And you could tell that he didn't know it. And then he was looking in the audience and somebody must have been like, yo, like wipe the sides of your face. Because he looked in the audience like, what? And then you could tell the light went on, like, I need to wipe my face right now. Yeah. That was the big headline.
Yeah, a lot of hairstylists were weighing in saying that that's probably not hair dye, unless it was literally done before he walked out there, because hair dye doesn't drip like that. Some people are saying that it's face bronzer too.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, if it's not hair dye, what was it? No, it was black though, Sham.
Yeah, and I guess if it was hair dye, he must have just gotten it done before he walked out. Is basically what
I believe that.
Professional hairdressers are saying this, because hair dye doesn't drip like that. I've been in the salon plenty of times and seen people get their hair dyed and then walk out in the sun and it don't come out like that. So I don't know what the hell that was.
And I believe the professional hair stylists, what they need to understand is that Rudy Giuliani is not professional in anything anymore. Period. Like his conduct over the last 2 or 3 weeks has been completely unprofessional. I called him a hack lawyer in this segment and even before, and I stand by it. The man is off the rails. By the way, his son has COVID. Guess who else has COVID?
Don Jr.
22 and a half has COVID. And I will continue to call him that to the day I die, or he does, or whatever. No, but he has COVID. After calling it a hoax, he was one of the first people to call COVID a hoax. He was one of the first people to get on TV and be like, this has been manufactured to make my dad look bad. He said that when this started. And now he has it. So whatever.
I guess it's manufactured to make him look bad now.
Exactly. Look, I'll wrap it up like this. Sham, I watched this whole thing from beginning to end. Rudy Giuliani came out there after the hair dye. He had a bunch of lawyers standing behind him. One of them, very distinguished. She was standing behind him, looking smart and all that. So I knew Rudy Giuliani was an idiot. I knew that, from Jump Street. So the second he came out there, he talked for 30 minutes, but it was nothing. Then he goes, I'm going to turn this over. Sham, the lady comes behind him, and she comes to the podium, and the first words out of her mouth was, I'm going to lay out for you why this election was stolen by Hugo Chavez and the communists. Sham, Hugo Chavez has been dead since 2013. It just goes for 15 minutes on this. This is what we're dealing with.
Apparently it's the Illuminati, because they've been dead for hundreds of years, but people keep bringing them up.
They bring up some software. It might as well be. They might as well have said Atari stole this election. That's how they were talking. They named the software. They named Hugo Chavez uses it. They did all this. They did all that. And I'm sitting there listening to it. Are they really what part of this are they we're just playing? This is a game. We're out of here. So that's what's happening with 45's legal strategy to try to steal the presidency back from Joe Biden. But Joe Biden did name his cabinet today, and we'll wrap up with this. He named his cabinet today. He made a commitment to name a lot of women and minorities in the cabinet, and he stuck to that commitment. John Kerry is the climate czar. I didn't even know there was a czar.
Man, that dude he can get a job.
John Kerry always going to get a job. Yeah. He been Secretary of State. His resume is thick.
They love this dude.
His resume is thick, man. So, my man won the Purple Heart and still let people shame him about his military service. I don't understand how John Kerry allowed that to happen. But the Swift Boat Veterans for Truth. But anyway. So that's all political news we have taped.
All right, let's get into entertainment.
It's not entertainment. Oh, somber note.
Why do we always do this? We got to stop doing this.
No, well, you know what? It's one of those things. Before we did in memoriams, I'm not trying to disrespect the subject. This isn't an in memoriam. This is just like we have to talk about it because I didn't know anything about this person until this. But.
So, guys, we're going to start it off on a sad note. And Bobby Brown Jr., son of former New Edition lead singer, New Jack Swing Entertainment legend, Bobby Brown, has passed away at the age of 28.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why I brought this to Shaka's attention is obviously because it's Bobby Brown and he's a whole legend out here.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw this and the first thing I thought was both of his namesakes are gone.
Yeah. I'd actually, you did send the story to me, but I had seen it and I was debating whether to let you know I had seen it. Because I didn't know. Now, when I read the story, apparently Bobby Brown has 7 children.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Obviously, this is Junior, so I'm assuming this is the oldest.
No, it's not, but...
Oh, okay.
Well, interestingly, this is Bobby Brown Jr. and Bobby Christina are very close in age because there was a situation. But his oldest son's name is Landon.
Landon, really?
Mm-hmm.
That's I like to dig into that at some other point. Man, he looks just like him though, don't he, Shay?
He favors him.
No, yeah, I was like, he couldn't deny him for a second. Very sad though. It seems to be sort of it seems to be an overdose. Was it not? Was it an overdose?
Well, the article I saw said that he was just pronounced dead at the scene and they didn't know what the cause of death was yet. Okay. I have not, gone back and, researched or anything. But,
well, it's sad, as you said, Bobby Brown has lost 2 children, like in their early to mid 20s. Well, I mean, I believe he's 28, Bobby Brown Jr. 27, 28, something like that. Bobby Christina was way younger than that.
She was 22.
Yeah. I mean, to lose 2 children in, really the prime of their lives, you can't wish that. You will never wish that on anyone, and all you can do is just, pray for Bobby Brown and keep it moving. But very sad, very sad.
He's had a lot of tragedy in his life.
Yes, he has. I haven't heard anything about his reaction or anything he's done. So if you have, but I have not.
I haven't heard anything either.
Yeah. So very sad about that. But that came out, was that maybe Friday?
Yep.
Okay. So, yeah, still fresh.
So Conan O'Brien.
Yeah, there it is.
Is leaving late night TV. But that's because he got a deal to do a show on Netflix, I believe.
Actually,
or HBO Max.
You know more than me about that. I knew he was leaving, and I found that significant. Look, I'm not going to sit here and act like I watched Conan O'Brien. However, I have seen his show, especially when he was with NBC, not so much when he was with TBS. And I find his arc very fascinating, especially in the fact that, I mean, he got kind of screwed over with the whole NBC deal with Jay Leno.
Oh, yeah, they screwed him over ridiculously.
Exactly. And Jay Leno personally kind of backstabbed him. And this is even beyond what Jay Leno did to get the Tonight Show. Jay Leno was very contrite about how it went down with Conan O'Brien and basically apologized and was like, yeah, I was kind of wrong for that. Which was very rare. I mean, Jay Leno like completely screwed over Johnny Carson to get the Tonight Show and never apologized to him for that, at least publicly.
Well, pin a rose on his nose because the shit was whack.
Right. It was very whack. But he definitely apologized to Conan O'Brien because that smelled so bad. It was up to the rafters. Like, you got to say something about this. Because you quit the show, you gave him the show, and then you allowed the studio to run him out and bring you back. Yeah, sorry. Nah, can't do that.
Yeah, but Conan, he did an extension with TBS in 2017. Mm-hmm. So it was just a 4-year extension. So basically, when his contract is up in next June, he's going to have a weekly variety series on HBO Max, not Netflix. Okay. So sorry. When I heard about it, I was like, I know it's on one of the streaming services, but I just don't know which one.
No, you said HBO Max before.
But yeah, it's definitely HBO Max. So that is a year out. So we'll look out for that.
Our next story, and then the story after that, HBO Max is kind of making all kinds of moves. But I felt that was noteworthy. So Sham, neither one of us have seen it. I'm going to hopefully watch it this week. The Fresh Prince reunion that we had talked about on the show happened. Now, here's what I'll add to this. What we did talk about last week is Monique. The only reason I'm bringing this up, so the Fresh Prince reunion apparently was very good, and it was everything that we thought it would be, and a lot of people thought it would be, especially the, I guess, reconciliation of Will Smith and, is it Janet Hubert? Is that her name? Well, old and Viv. First and Viv.
Janet Hubert Whitten.
Hubert Whitten. So that happens, and that happens swimmingly, apparently. Monique decides to get on Facebook or social media and says, you see how Will Smith just apologized to Janet Hubert Whitten? That's how Tyler Perry and Oprah Winfrey should apologize to me, and tags everyone involved and makes it about herself. It's like, that's how somebody acts when they've wronged somebody. And Tyler Perry, why don't you act like Will Smith? You wronged me just like he wronged her, which it's like, whatever. We don't even know what he said. But, or even if he said that, I doubt he said it like that. But she made it about her. Proving the point we were talking about last week.
Yeah, Tyler Perry's too busy feeding over 5,000 families for the holidays. So he don't have time for your shenanigans, Monique.
And last thing, she taped the conversation between her and Tyler Perry.
Of course she did.
Taped it. And said, you know why you should apologize to me? Because you told me in private in this conversation that blah, 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 I deserve more recognition. And then played the tape and put it on YouTube. And actually, I'm saying this like it's breaking news. The tape playing and all that was a while ago. Her reaction to the Will Smith thing and the Fresh Prince thing was recent, but her playing the tape. And then she even referenced, like, I know people questioning why I taped them, but this is why I taped them, which goes back to what I said. Monique, you're proving why people don't like rock with you. You're going to tape a conversation between them and then expose that tape? Yeah, get out of my face. But happy to see Will Smith and Janet Hubert Whitten reconcile. And like I said, it seems like neither one of us has seen it yet, but it seems like it was all it feels, for real. Seems like it. So, good there.
So, Shaka,
Sham,
do you know, and I don't think I've ever told you this, but Gal Gadot is smoking. I think I have like a woman crush on Gal Gadot.
Yeah, a woman crush.
I think I do.
A very good friend of ours, the shadow producer, is very much in love with Gal Gadot. Yeah. Listen, I like Gal Gadot very much, and I think she's a good Wonder Woman. So we're talking about Gal Gadot because Wonder Woman 1984. Some good news has come up. Sham, I always like when I hear a story about what the studios, and we've talked about this a lot in general, what the studios are doing about COVID. So Here's what HBO or Warner Brothers has decided to do about Wonder Woman 1984. What they're going to do is they're going to release it next month. I want to say right before Christmas, like December 21st or something.
December 16th.
Excuse me. They're going to release it on HBO Max, but they're also going to release it internationally in theaters. So I learned a couple things. Number one, I didn't know that HBO Max was not worldwide. There are countries who don't have it, period. So the countries who don't have HBO Max, if you want to see Wonder Woman 1984, you have to go to the theater. So they're going to do both, but they're only going to have it on HBO Max for a month. They're going to pull it off and let it go through the normal like movie pipeline, where once they pull it from the theaters, it will go through like Netflix and stuff like that and on demand. And then after that, they're going to re-release it on HBO Max.
So you know the best thing about all of this?
What's that?
Is that if you have HBO Max, you can just watch it and you ain't got to pay an extra $30 like Disney did with Mulan.
And the story I read referenced that because they said they sat in a room. See, this is why I'm like, plan it out. They sat in a room and they said, okay, you know what we're not going to do? HBO Max is already extra. We're not going to charge pay-per-view on top of pay-per-view. Like, we want to make some money off the project. We're going to give it to the people on our platform. We're going to try to scrape up a little bit of money overseas. And that's it. Because we're not trying to be like Disney, who did what you just said. And charge the people who already paying extra for the platform, extra on top of extra. Because if it's not fire, they're really not. Even if it was fire, they're still going to walk away with a bad taste in their mouths for having paying extra for something for an extra product that they're already paying extra for. And I know how many extras that sounded like, but that's how those people felt when they were paying their money.
Yeah, and they ain't even get the little dragon that Eddie Murphy played in the cartoon.
Exactly.
It wasn't even in it.
Can I get my merch? No, but I thought this was very interesting. Again, DC, Warner Brothers, whatever you want to call it, thinking a little bit outside of the box. It's risky because people are like, look, they could have just waited to next year. Especially, look, we got the vaccine now. And I know I'm making that sound, but that's how people and companies are going to think. Like, we got a vaccine, so we can get back to business as usual February, March. DC and Warner Brothers could have pushed the project. They already pushed it. It was supposed to come out like April, May of this year. They could have pushed it to April, May of next year, like Fast and Furious did. Like, they pushed it a whole year. But they were like, nah, you know what? We don't know how that's going to be. Let's go ahead and do like a split marketing campaign. Put it on HBO now, for especially people in America who have HBO now. And they're also thinking it's going to draw people in. They think there's some people who don't have HBO now who want to watch Wonder Woman and DC in general and come in and buy it for that. So, look, I'm always a fan of trying something new. So, I like it. I like the idea. But beyond that, now, let's go from good ideas to trash people. These are wrap-ups. Well, one is a wrap-up. One is a new thing. Sham, episode 11, Megyn Kelly. Like, if you guys want to know what I think of Megyn Kelly, go back to that. I won't rehash that. However, the only thing I'll say is Megyn Kelly pulled. We talked about private school in the last episode. She was not happy with the fact that there was sort of a Black Lives Matter, and I won't even go that far, but a project that was intended to speak to the issues of colored people, Black people. And as part of that project, They were talking about how a lot of white people are, non-empathetic and stuff like that. So because she didn't like that this was being taught in her child's school, she pulled her child out of the school.
Look, the long and short of it is this. The school was too woke and it was too far left for her liking. So she pulled her kid.
Too woke. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. And she made a point of this. Apparently she has a podcast, which is not surprising. I mean, as we can attest, anybody can get a podcast. At least as I could attest. But nah. Megyn Kelly is trash. Trash. And people, especially her and Bill Maher and everybody else, get outraged about how she got kicked off of Good Morning America, wherever she was on. This is why. Everyone, Sansa is white. Like, that's Megyn Kelly in a nutshell. Now, in the same trash vein, and actually the only reason I even wanted to bring her up is to tie her to this guy and tie her to the platform. John Tesh. How you know John Tesh, Sham?
He was on Entertainment Tonight.
It was a host of Entertainment Tonight. But you know what? John Tesh's legacy to the world, which can never be taken away.
He also had a pretty bad music career.
Pretty bad music career, but the one musical gem that he gave to the whole world is that John Tesh is the person who came up with the NBA theme from the 90s. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's the that one. I won't even do the whole thing. But yeah, he came up with that thing. John Tesh is trash. John Tesh comes on Twitter and says, I'm leaving Twitter because of all the liberal media garbage or whatever, and I'm going to Parler. Which, Sham, we're always here for the comments. People were like, John Tesh was on Twitter. And then other people were like, who the hell is John Tesh? Like, who is that? The only reason I brought it up, Parler. Parler is now like the sort of home base for right-wing conspiracy. It's the One America News for social media, but more and more people are going there. And like a lot of those 70 plus million that voted for 45, they're going there. And that will be a platform for 45's new campaign. So,
ready to get into some sports?
Always. Of course.
So, Shaka, the NBA has been going crazy this past week.
Absolutely insane.
So we talked about Chris Paul and trade possibilities and all that stuff, and that got finalized actually the night or maybe the day after we recorded the last episode. So Chris Paul is with the Suns now.
So what do you think of this?
I mean, I think it's exactly where I thought he should be. I'm glad that actually happened.
What do you think they're going to do in terms of the Suns were already a playoff team. I won't even call them borderline. I mean, they were going to be a force, but adding him, what does that mean for them?
I mean, I think they're probably going to be no higher than 6. I don't think much changes. I think they're not going to instantly be like in the finals or anything just because they added Chris Paul. I mean, I think they're still going to be right where they were. They're still going to be a playoff team.
So I think I emailed it last episode. I'm happy for Chris Paul. I think he'll be happy there. I think they'll be competitive. I wanted him to go to the Clippers or at minimum go to somewhere where it was plausible that he win the title. He's not going to win the title there. I mean, I think even what you just said kind of fed into that. He's not winning the title there. So this closes the book on Chris Paul even getting to the finals, in my opinion. But, yeah. So, what about some of the other moves?
So the craziest move that didn't actually become a move was the Bogdanovich sign and trade that didn't actually happen.
Yo, you watched PTI this week?
Oh my goodness!
Oh man, Tony Conan has put it perfectly, in my opinion. So again, never try to mimic him, but I mean, the gist of it is this is a huge problem that this trade didn't materialize. And Mike Wilbon, he made it sound like, I mean, they can maybe salvage it and make the trade happen. But the point is, if the trade was supposed to happen, if Bogdanovich was supposed to go to the Bucks and it didn't happen, it's not going to happen.
Well, the big problem with this is if you have a sign and trade, you got to have the signing. The signing has to actually happen before you announce the sign and trade. Bogdanovich never signed anything. And actually, it turns out he's holding out and wanted to go into free agency because he's looking for more money.
Right. And if you didn't suss that out and you're Milwaukee, like, what are y'all doing? And then So it's a bad look. Al Horford continues to get jobs.
He's a big man in a league full of small men.
Yeah, I feel like he doesn't perform. He doesn't act like a big man.
Oh, absolutely not. He's got that Antoine Walker thing going where, you should be on the block posting somebody up, but yeah, you want to be behind a 3-point line throwing up bullets.
Matter of fact, he has a Joel Embiid problem, but he's not as good as Joel Embiid, which is even more of a problem. Yeah. I want to shoot outside. Yeah, okay, fine.
Serge Ibaka went to the Clippers. I know you had some.
I like that. Look, Serge Ibaka, his career hasn't materialized the way I thought it should.
He has that Al Horford problem as well.
Absolutely. And what's disgusting about his career is that he didn't have that problem at first.
Nope. Not when he was in OKC.
That's right. He used to be inside presence, shot blocker, rebounder, that kind of thing. And he's gotten away from that. I don't understand why. But I do like the fact he has a little bit of element. He's capable of that, which the Clippers need, and he can shoot. I should say shoot. He can score. So good move there. But yeah, to your point, it's been a flurry of activity. Did you watch the draft though?
A little bit. It was weird. I couldn't get into it.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about Wiseman. So
he went exactly where I felt he should go.
Yep. So,
and good news for them because they got bad news like the day after, which is Klay Thompson tearing his Achilles.
Horrible.
And will be out for another year.
I'm very sad about that. Klay, we talked about Klay. Klay, not only is he one of the guys we like from Golden State, but I'll speak for myself. He's one of the guys I like in the league.
Big dick swag.
Okay, those wouldn't be my words. but no, look, I just like the fact that Klay, to me, he's confident. So I'll say it my way. He's confident, but it's not arrogant. He's confident, and I felt like he is real. I like when he got snubbed for the All-Star team. Not that he got snubbed, but the way he handled it. Clearly not last year, but 2 years ago. And yeah, I want him off Golden State and somewhere else. So,
at this point, you should just want him to be on the court. And I didn't like how ESPN was talking about him in past tense. Like I kept seeing like all these little montages and all I'm like, for 3 days straight, y'all talking about Klay Thompson as if he's a thing of the past. I didn't appreciate that.
Yeah.
They were running down all his records, all his, every time he scored this many points in a quarter. Like, I'm like, why y'all doing rundowns of Klay Thompson's records like he passed away or something? Like, it's crazy to me.
Yeah. It's just tough. It's tough.
So what do you think about the possibility of Russ going to Washington, because so now the buzz is that Russ may be joining Washington and John Wall may be going to Houston.
I'll be on the show right now. I'm all for it. All for it. 100%. And listen, it's not, I don't want that to be interpreted that, oh, I'm trying to get John Wall out of here.
So what if it is interpreted that way? It's your opinion. Who cares?
Well, I mean, I want my opinion to be interpreted accurately. Then I can argue about it all day. So so that's that. But here's what I'll say. John Wall John Wall has had some issues that I don't like, and I believe I've spoken about them on the podcast, so I won't rehash them. But that's fine. But if nothing happens and this trade doesn't happen and John Wall comes back next year, I'm excited for him to come back and let's try to get something going. That being said, okay, if Russ is on the table, I will take Russ over John Wall in a moment. Period. Like, no hesitation. Bring Russ in here. And I understand Russ is older, but people are like, oh, they have similar injury histories. No, they don't. Mm-mm. No, not even close. And on top of that, again, this is not about John Wall. This is about what Russ brings. We've had a problem in the heart department for a minute. One thing I'll say about Russ, Russ comes with the heart. The brains aren't always there, but he comes with the heart. Number one. Number two, one of the other issues I've always had, and this is definitely on John Wall, but beyond him too. Our city doesn't know how to handle the stars. They go to clubs all the time and do all that, and we worship them. Now, granted, it's COVID, so a lot of these clubs shut down. But the point is, even if they were not, I'm not saying Russ doesn't go out, but Russ is a family man.
He's Russ is hanging out in clubs.
Yeah, he's not hanging out. Yeah. So,
dude, I heard Russ don't even drink. So,
and I believe that. And we know John Wall drinks, and we know he go to the club. So.
And they're not that far apart in age. Like 30 and 32 is not like right. 40 and 30. So you're not losing much age-wise if you grab Russ. So
exactly. So
other small mentions before we move on to the NFL. Mm-hmm. Steven Adams.
Yeah.
He is now with the Pelicans. So the thing of Tristan Thompson is now with the Celtics, Cleveland Cavaliers legend Tristan Thompson.
Yeah.
And also, so AD has opted out.
Yeah. Strategic move though, right?
Yeah, I think he's doing the Kobe Bryant thing.
Correct.
He's doing the Kobe. And James Harden, who we discussed last week, but
we did. Actually, I'm glad. Thank you for reminding me. A couple wrinkles. Apparently, the narrative out of James Harden and Russell Westbrook's camp is that part of the concern with the quote-unquote direction of the team is that their owner was a Trump supporter. That makes them look crazy because here's why. That's probably true. Actually, it is true. It's documented. But y'all don't care about that. So don't act like you care about that now. James Harden, if you were that woke, you wouldn't have bought that stupid
Blue Lives Matter hat.
Thank you.
Or mask.
Mask. Right. So if you cared about that much, you wouldn't have bought that. Russ, I'm not saying whether you care about it or not, but no, stop it. And on top of that, if you dig into some of these owners, yeah, half of them at least, if not more. So what are y'all talking about? Yeah, so I didn't like that at all. The James Harden turned it down. The extension, it was jarring to see it, but clearly, I mean, yeah, he's not staying there. So there's that.
So good, Gordon Hayward and LaMelo Ball.
I mean, Gordon Hayward getting that much money is absurd.
I'm actually surprised he didn't re-sign with Boston. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not based on the money he ended up getting.
Yeah, but right? maybe it didn't work so well with him being back with his college coach in the NBA. It seemed like that would be good, but maybe it didn't work so well. I mean, he wasn't impactful at all in Boston, and partially because of, his first game with the team, he broke his leg.
Mm.
And I guess he just never got back on course after that. Now, you know what? I changed my opinion on that. Maybe going to Charlotte, fresh start, he can kind of get his wheels back under him.
Okay, and that's good for him. What the hell is Mike doing down there?
What does Mike do anywhere?
Exactly. This was asinine to offer. Everything you just said about going ahead was true, but this kind of money is absurd for him. Right?
I mean, a lot of the contracts are absurd in that league because of the last collective bargaining agreement. Pushed all the money up in crazy stratospheres.
And I understand that. Even despite that context, this is an absurd overpayment for Gordon Hayward services. Michael Jordan, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing for real? Either suit up and play for the team or sit down. Because owning it is not the answer.
But wasn't Gordon Hayward an all-star at one point? Like when he was in Utah or wherever he was?
The fact that you have to ask in that tone, I mean, the answer is yes. But the fact that we have to say it in that fashion, like, was he an all-star at one point, at some point? The money he's being offered is like no question type money. Yeah, that's crazy. Nah.
I mean, I feel like he had a solid career before he broke his leg. I tend not to question that as much as I question stuff like freaking Jordan Clarkson getting a 4-year, $52 million deal, or even Danilo Gallinari getting a 3-year, $61.5 million deal. I would tend to question that way more than I would question Gordon Hayward getting his money.
I mean, I can question both or all, I guess. Like, to me, Hayward is giving the example of a bad contract to why these other contracts are bad. Like, other GMs are giving themselves an excuse to make a bad contract based on his, I guess. Terrible logic, but I feel like logic all the same. So anything else in the NBA?
Let's move on to the niffle, as you say.
Yeah. Tough week for both of our teams, so we can get them out the way right now. Raiders are not trash. I mean, we played a great game last night.
Until you didn't.
Derek Carr, I disagree with that last throw tremendously.
I was sitting here watching that game. I was like, yo, the Raiders just do not want to be great. Like, he came right, I was like, okay, you come down, Jason Witten makes a phenomenal play. Phenomenal. You go up, and I'm like, all you got to do is this. And then you came to the front of my mind. When Patrick Mahomes scored in less than 30 seconds, guys, I said, this is Shaka. I can hear him saying, we don't play any defense.
You're a lot more gentle with the wording than what I've called our defense.
Oh, absolutely. I know.
Yeah. Look, a couple things. Number one, Derek Carr, you played a great game, but that was very immature. What you did.
That was ridiculous. And somebody tried to even make an excuse for him, but one of the announcers was like, Derek Carr would never make that throw. Well, he did.
Yeah. It's like, what are you saying right now? We just saw him do it. So, okay, fine.
Under normal circumstances.
Right. It's like, look, what normal circumstances? That he's the quarterback of the team and we're in the game that we have to win?
On the practice field? What?
But, look, that aside, we played a good game. We played Kansas City, and the odds were not in our favor for us to sweep Kansas City. They manufactured bulletin board material about what we did after the first game. These people won the Super Bowl, and like, had an undefeated record before and since playing us. So they don't need bulletin board material, but whatever. So
one of my friends had the nerve to say to me, because we were texting each other during that game, he's like, dang it, I needed Kansas City to lose so we can have so we won't have to work so hard to keep the number 1 seed. I was like, the nerve of a Steelers fan complain about being undefeated. Like, the fuck out of here. Why you need Kansas City to lose? You undefeated. Don't worry about what they doing. Keep winning your damn games.
And in general, they have Kansas City number anyway, so it's
like stop it.
Yeah.
You're a sensitive asshole. I'm an Eagles fan.
So, all right. So that's our game. I feel I'm good. We're 6-4. We'll probably make playoffs in that 7th seed that they've just added. Birds, Sham. Yeah, I got the Eagles trash.
Trash. And I'll even add more to that. Carson Wentz trash. I cannot make any more excuses for this clown.
Sham, I didn't know this until about an hour before we taped. I wasn't aware of quite how many turnovers Carson Wentz is responsible for.
He's got over 30.
Not quite, but he's trending that way. 14 interceptions, 9 fumbles. It's week 11. That's just absurd. He has the most turnovers in the league.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
He has more turnovers than touchdowns.
Champ, I was floored by this information. I knew what I've been seeing, but I haven't watched every Eagles game. This man lives in the same division as Daniel Jones and has more turnovers than Daniel Jones. What is wrong with Wentz?
I don't know, but he need to figure it out.
So was he the reason y'all lost the game?
Yeah. Pick 6.
Yeah.
Like, their first score was a pick 6. I mean, he was just throwing it all over America.
And despite all that, y'all was still in front of the division.
That is like crazy to me. We 3-6-1. Everybody else is 3-7.
Y'all 3-6-1.
We went in the division by half a game.
The only reason y'all not going to be in the head of the division by next Sunday is because Washington plays Dallas, unless somehow they tie.
And we're not going to beat the Seahawks. So there's that.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Or do we have the Rams next week? We got somebody we ain't going to beat.
Somebody we're going to lose to. Seeing Cleveland up close and personal, how do you feel about them?
It's hard to tell because we were just so bad.
Yeah. More about you guys?
Yeah, and it was raining and the ball was slipping. It was a lot of factors.
Okay.
We lost by 5. It was a dumb safety that Carson Wentz got sacked in the end zone. Like it was they weren't unbeatable. Like I didn't look at that as like, oh yeah, we lost to a really good team. No, we didn't lose to a really good team.
Gotcha. So Doug Peterson, Eagles in general, Birds in general, before we move on and wrap up everything?
Trash.
Just trash.
Yeah.
All right. So quick roundup. Jets made it interesting against Chargers. 34-28. But Chargers won.
That made it interesting for my fantasy team because Keenan Allen scored 32 points. Thank you.
Yeah, he did. Both those teams are going nowhere. All right. Dolphins, Broncos. Broncos beat Dolphins. That's a bad loss for Miami. Miami was trying to spin the narrative. They were looking good. That is a bad loss.
And Tua was horrible.
Yes, he was. Matter of fact, got pulled in the game, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, got benched.
Didn't work.
So, yep. Vikings, Cowboys.
Vikings don't want to be great either.
No, they don't. They go out and beat Green Bay, which we'll talk about. Green Bay lost today. That's fine. But go out and beat Green Bay, and then they come lose to the Cowboys? That being said, I will say Andy Dalton probably had the game that if I was a Cowboys fan, I would believe he would have had from Jump Street with the Cowboys. So we'll see how that plays out. Now, let's get to the Packers. Packers Colts. Frank Reich out here, like, I need to be a coach. I'm definitely a coach of the Colts. I probably should be a coach of the Eagles at this point.
Yeah, he's going for coach of the year for sure.
Yeah.
They found their way.
I can get Carson Wentz back on track. Yeah. 34-31.
Maybe they'll do a trade and he can have Carson Wentz.
Mm-hmm.
Doubt it.
We lost 35-31 to Kansas City. Tyreek Hill should not be in the National Football League. I remember us talking about it on the show. That's why I kept bringing it up.
And I don't think Kareem Hunt should be either, but hey, whatever.
Exactly.
Cardinals Seahawks. Let's talk about that game because that was the first game of the week.
That was Thursday, right?
Yeah, that was a great game. That was a great game.
Look, he clearly got hurt, Kyler Murray, at some point. Mm-hmm. And his shoulder was bothering him. So that was a factor.
But it was also dumb defensive plays that happened. The taunting and the fight and all that stuff. Dude made a hell of a stop on third down. They didn't convert it. And then he taunts. They get the ball back literally at like the 20. Then they run right in and score. Mm-hmm. Like, it was stuff like that irked me in that game.
Yeah, it was. But how do you see it playing out? Playoffs wise. Even division.
Shoot, they might end up getting 3.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Like, I feel like the Rams are kind of surging right now. Mm-hmm. We'll see what they do tonight against the Bucks, but they look like they have the momentum right now.
I agree about the Rams. I think they seem to have come out this year with a purpose. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I put it this way. Everybody in the NFC West, aside from actually really everybody is good. So,
right.
Yeah. I'm trying to think.
Steelers, Jaguars, total
Steelers
crush.
Smashed them.
Smashed. And Panthers, Lions, also a smash. Patriots, Texans.
That was good.
Did you see any of that game?
I did. I watched. Actually, they played it. So just the way Red Zone was working, they played it on Red Zone quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And I feel bad for Cam a little bit. I do. I also, I've caped for Cam a lot, so maybe that's why, but I feel for
him. Yeah, I do. I want him to win. Not win games, but like just win in life. Like, I want him to be able to get back to being a decent quarterback.
Which
will translate to football wins, obviously.
So Romeo Crennel trying to get that job. It's like Raheem Morris.
Yeah, until they saw the Falcons. Until they saw the Saints. My bad. Yeah, Saints beat them. Yeah, Texans squeaked out a win. What's that? 2-8?
Mm-hmm. Might be 3.
3-7, you think?
Yeah, 3-7. Yeah.
Titans, Ravens.
So, look, I'm tired of the narrative of, the tape was caught up with Lamar Jackson. I'm tired of that. That being said, he needs to make better throws.
Yeah. I also feel like the defense kind of failed the Ravens, especially in the fourth quarter.
Agreed. Like, who's even on their defense anymore?
Yeah, they definitely failed. Like, because they let them come back in the game. So.
Yeah. So, we got anybody else?
Let's see. Well, pretty much covered everybody except for the Bengals and the Washington team, but Washington team won that.
Actually, big development though, Joe Burrow.
Yes. Yeah. They took him out. People just get hurt in Raljon, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, I mean, that was bad to see, you know. Joe Burrow was the only reason, if I was a Cincinnati fan, I'll be optimistic. That young man can make plays.
Yeah, he's playing well.
Sam, I got a report right before we aired. MCL, ACL, and additional tissue damage over that.
He got almost a Dante Culpepper.
Correct.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah. So.
He's done. Not forever, but he's done. He should holler at Adrian Peterson's doctor, though, because he got fixed up. Smith's. Yeah, but his wasn't a knee, though. His was more like, but so Rams Bucks, which is starting in about 4 minutes. Correct. What do you think about that one?
I like the Rams. Like defense. I think I don't think Tom Brady and those guys will have a bad game. I don't think Tom will have a bad game, but I like the Rams. They seem to be playing with purpose. So
you know, Tom don't like the pressure. So you know the Rams are going to bring it.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
He'll scream an alarm or something. But yeah, other than that, I guess we're good.
Yes, sir. Episode 87.
Why are you laughing at so hard?
Because I was trying so hard to figure out a number 87 that wouldn't be so bad, but I can't.
87, yeah. That's also a weird number. Now, once we get to 88, we got a lot of possibilities.
Oh, man, 88 is, yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Stop Playing Podcast. As always, you can find us on www.stopplayingpodcast.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Also, make sure you check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at the Stop Playing Podcast, and on Twitter at stop_playing pod. Send us a message at info@stopplayingpodcast. And remember to keep your chips on the plate. No double dipping unless it's the podcast. And we'll talk to you real soon.
Stop playing.